I've actually been always an entrepreneur, although I didn't know it myself. But if I look back in the past, I always was into making money. For example, I put notes at my neighbors, etc., if I could mow their grass for some money or wash their car. And you could say that perhaps that was the first sparkle of becoming an entrepreneur. I think you always learn a lot from your parents. My father was a family doctor, so in fact he was not an entrepreneur, but he was, because he did more than just helping his patients. So when he got the opportunity to build a new practice, he also built a home, and he built also a practice for the dentist and the physiotherapist, etc., etc. So, and he was also very active on the stock market. So, in that sense, I think I learned a lot from him about what it is to become an entrepreneur. I wouldn't say I am a serial entrepreneur, but in fact I am. But I kind of didn't realize that. But I have been an entrepreneur my whole life. And I am a serial entrepreneur because I started several companies. But it's not something you intend to do so when you start your first company. When you start your first company, you think that's the company for the rest of my life. But circumstances change and life changes. And then in the end, you realize you have become a serial entrepreneur. One company comes from another company, etc., etc. And some of my companies didn't start with the right motivation, in the sense that I started a company due to what happened with the other company before. When I started my first company, it was about corporate movies and commercials, and later on television. So it was always in that field, and it's the only thing I can do, actually. I don't know, I've never been in any other field, but this is the most fun field to work in, I think. Tuvalu Media is operating in the content producing market, and that means that we produce content, you could say television series, for broadcasters. That could be commercial or public broadcasters. But nowadays also a lot of companies like Netflix or Amazon, Apple, Disney are also ordering a lot of content. Not that much in the Netherlands yet, but the appetite for content is huge, and we are able to produce that. I know a lot of people in the field which you need to create content. You need to know the broadcasters, you need to know the best directors. So it all comes together in my person, and you bring that with you into a new company when you start a new company. Your network is still there. It isn't gone when you start a new company. So every time, so far is my experience, with every new company, the fundament was better. The cliché is, there's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. And I think the fun of producing TV programs is huge, and the fun to work with people, to create content, and then the content is being broadcasted and people like it and love it. That's the biggest reward you can get. You really need to be an optimistic person to become a serial entrepreneur. If you are not optimistic, if you don't believe in chances, even when you're down and out, you cannot become a serial entrepreneur. You cannot become an entrepreneur anyway, I think, a successful entrepreneur, because every company has its ups and downs. I'm an optimistic person, and I always believe that in the end everything goes well. To be honest, I think I'm kind of, for 25% it's nature and 75% is nurture. I think I've learned a lot during my life of being an entrepreneur. And of course, some part of it is nature, and that has to do with being optimistic and that you are able to create something out of nothing. that's the essence of being an entrepreneur, I think. But I had to learn a lot becoming an entrepreneur. I don't have very good management skills. I think I can encourage people to do their work, and I think I'm able to get a good atmosphere in the company, and that we have a lot of creativity, and that we sell our programs, etc. So I put in a lot of energy in it. But managerial skills is something different. So from the moment I started a company, I always realized I need good people around me, because I can't do it alone. And I'm good at certain things, really good, but at certain things I'm not. I've become an entrepreneur, I think a successful entrepreneur, also due to the fact that a lot of things went wrong in my companies. I have been really close being bankrupt, for example. But you learn a lot from that. The greatest mistake I made as an entrepreneur, yes, I do have one. We had a conflict with the broadcaster about something. And we were right. And I was very frustrated that the broadcaster didn't recognize that. So in the end, we went into court. And that was very stupid to do. Sometimes you do need to realize that you better swallow this difficult thing than to go into court with the broadcaster, because from that moment on, the broadcaster never ordered any series at us anymore. So try to avoid to end up in court, because you always lose, even if you win. So what I do now with agreements, when I work with people and you have to close an agreement, in the last article I always write down, whenever there's a conflict, we first drink a bottle of wine together to solve the problem before we go to court. And I think in my last company, everything has come together in what I've learned, and that's why Tuvalu Media is a successful company. When you sell your company, you kind of get a reward for all the effort you've put in. When I started Tuvalu Media, I knew that in the end, it could be 5 years, could be 10 years, could be 15 years, I would sell the company. It's not something I would give to my children, for example. I think it's good to make a great ride, and then you get a reward of selling it to a bigger company or strategic company. Of course, there's a negative side of selling your company, because you sell your love baby. But if you know that it is in good hands, then it's fine. Then I'm also kind of proud that now the next generation is taking over and brings new elan to the company, which I might not be able to put in anymore. So there's a natural way of bringing the company to a new stage. The best tip to start your own company is just do it. Because if you just do it, after a while you will know if you are the right person to be an entrepreneur. And by doing, you may have a chance that it becomes successful. And if you keep on thinking about maybe becoming an entrepreneur, you never become one.